take it away.
All right, awesome. So yeah, thanks, Dennis, for inviting me. I'm really excited to speak to you guys about personal brand. It's a passion of mine. Um, and, for me, it's how I've gotten all my jobs. It's how I've increased my network, my community, professionally, personally. It's really, you know, the real me when I'm out there on social. So if you ever follow me on any of the different social networks, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, that's you'll see the real me there, and not the fake Randy. So to start off, and probably why a lot of you are joining, is why is your personal brand important? That's the question that I ask a lot of people, and that they ask me, and truthfully, it's really about that when you are either looking for a job or when you are trying to find a new prospect, whether you're trying to do some selling, your personal brand matters because people search for you. We're all voyeuristic in our human nature, and people are going to search for you. So, and usually the first 2 or 3 results is your LinkedIn profile. So that's why your LinkedIn profile matters so much. And then when it comes to personal brand, it's really about who you want to be known for and what you're known for. And sometimes those can be different things. So an example would be some people from like 20 years ago know me as the guy that did HTML and built web pages. And yes, I can still do that now, but that's not really my forte. And I'm not a coder by any means anymore. And if I were to show my code to someone in engineering now, that probably wouldn't be the right thing to do. So I think it's really about, take some time to figure out who you want to be known for. What are the skills that you want to be known for? What is the tone and style that you want to portray to the world? And so it can be to your prospects, to your customers, employees. And as I said before, it's an opportunity, right? And I think that when it comes to, say, your LinkedIn profile, for a lot of people, and raise your hand if you have done this, but I know I have in the past, before I started really focusing on my personal brand, is I didn't really change my LinkedIn profile until I felt like I needed to change it, until I felt like there was a new job or a new opportunity that I was trying to go for. But really, your profile is your portfolio, is your reason of who you are. Now, granted, LinkedIn is more on the professional side, but it's still going to be in the top results when someone searches for you. So I've put together a few profile best practices in terms of kind of going from top to bottom. I have the amazing Bill Gates here as an example, and I'm happy to take a look at any of you guys' profile in the future. Just hit me up on LinkedIn, or Dennis has my email address, and we can definitely share information that way. And so when I'm talking with people, I take a look at their profile from top to bottom, and then I also look at some engagement best practices. So that's what we're going to go through today, just as some quick tips and reasons why I think they're important. Any questions so far? No? Awesome. All right. So the header image, which is this portion right here at the top where it says Gate Notes, that is your conversation starter. It's not shown anywhere else on the LinkedIn network. It is the place where when people land on it, not only do they see your profile photo, but that header image is front and center. And so the reason that I like to make sure it's updated is that it is an opportunity for you to showcase who you are as a person, as your and your passions. And so when someone calls you, or maybe you call someone for the first call, they're automatically going to do a Google search for you. They'll land on your LinkedIn profile, and then your profile will come up. So that header image is something that I think is important. I believe it is, and I think it's a great conversation starter, especially for that first few minutes of the conversation. Next one is the profile photo. So a few things that I recommend on a profile photo. One is, of course, don't crop an old photo. If you have any hair on the side from someone else, you're at a party, you're at um, a wedding, and you have someone's hand around you, um, don't use any of those. I beg you. It is really your opportunity to showcase who you are and as professional, but yet also as human as possible. So I'm not saying go out and do a nice little glamour photo shoot, but make sure that you spend some time on, um, you know, like today I shaved, which is amazing. Since we're working at home, why do I need to shave? I don't know. But I shaved. I made sure that, I'd make sure that your hair is done right. You're wearing some nice clothes. It doesn't necessarily need to be a suit and tie, a business casual. It's really who you are, so that when someone actually meets you in person, that they actually see the real you, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, you look like your profile photo." Um, and so when you're taking a profile photo now, if it's just you, if you have an iPhone or even a Samsung phone, great resolution on the camera. On the iPhone specifically, there's a great portrait mode. I highly recommend use that. Going outside when it's a nice day, when it's not too much sunlight glaring down at you, is a great way to update that profile photo. And then the headline. So the headline, right, with Bill Gates says co-chair Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So two things that I've highlighted within this list is the profile photo and the headline. And I've added a search icon to it. And the reason being is that when you do a search on LinkedIn, which is very powerful, you can do a search for people, but also content and skills and hashtags. But that profile photo and the headline is what appears within the search results, as well as when you're looking at it through your newsfeed. So it's really important that your profile photo is set up correctly, and that you have a headline that's catchy, not too markety, but that differentiates you from other potential contacts that are in the same industry or same skill set that you have. So that headline on default on LinkedIn is the job title for your recent job, but it can be something different. It can be something that you're passionate about, something that you want to help people with. Why would someone want to contact you? And so that's where the headline comes into play. And I think it's a great opportunity to leverage that as well. Next is the about section or the summary section. Bill Gates didn't really have a long one here, but for the most of the world, I think everybody knows who he is. But for yourself and for people like me, I like to, one is write it in the first person. So I am Randy and I have 20 some years experience doing X, Y, and Z. Versus Randy is a 25-year digital marketer doing blah, 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 blah. So write it in the first person, just like you were to meet someone at a coffee shop in a very conversational tone. That's what I'd recommend. It's a great way of just jump-starting your profile. And in the profile, you want to include things in terms of your professional background, the passions that you have in terms of what you want to be known for now. So if you have a job in your LinkedIn profile from like 20 years ago and you're doing one thing, but now you want to focus on something else, make sure the about section really showcases that. So that's something that I definitely recommend. And then lastly, the links. The links are a great way for you to add to your digital portfolio. The links could be not just a link, it could be a document as well. So the links could be a website. Maybe you were featured on a website, a YouTube video, or maybe you wrote an article or you were featured in an article. That's a great way to showcase people what you're kind of passionate about, what you're known for. And it could be stuff that's recent. It could be stuff from a project that you did 10 years ago. I think it's a great opportunity for you to leverage that. And so you can either add links, or if your stuff isn't publicly viewable anymore because the company went away or maybe the website went away, but you still have screenshots, that's a great way for you to create a PDF of your portfolio and upload it to LinkedIn. And that could be viewed within LinkedIn within this link section. Any
Hey, Randy,
questions?
there's a question from Mariana about
Yeah.
the header image. She said, "Do you have suggestions for a good cover photo?" I think she's asking, like, what do you put in there?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what I've done is I've taken a look at some of my landscape photos and things that I'm passionate about. So on mine, I have a travel photo. It's literally a photo that I took from an airplane window looking out into the clouds with a wing. And that just shows because I'm passionate about traveling. I love traveling. I love um, meeting new cultures. It's something I've done since an early age. Um, and so the things that I would recommend are either take a look at the location that you're at. So Bay Area, there's a lot of great scenic shots that you can do within the Bay Area, whether it's on a hike, whether it's a landmark like the Golden Gate Bridge. Um, Also, another way of thinking about it is what inspires you. Um, Now, what I'd recommend that you do is not necessarily is to find a photo, but without any words, because the words will get truncated. And the way that LinkedIn does it is that they will um, leverage this header photo and any photos on here across the mobile app, the desktop app, TV, and so forth. So you want to make sure that you have a good enough one that's wide enough. And there's dimension recommendations when you go to LinkedIn. You'll see that there. Does that answer your question? Thumbs up. Any other questions?
There's another one from Kate about
Yeah.
for links. Do you put that in about or in featured?
So that is a new section. So featured is a new section that came about. I got access to it maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Um, and featured is an area where you can put in not just links to a website, but also status updates. So if there's a status update that you wrote that got a lot of engagement, or that was something that you really spent a lot of time on, you want to kind of showcase, that's something that you can do as well. And so the links can also, so the feature section is essentially the links now. So this screenshot was taken about 3 weeks ago, so that's why it's changed. But what I can do is I can go into it, into my profile right now and just show you a couple of examples. I see the chat is blowing up. What else we got? So Beth, in terms of making it responsive, I would recommend there's a specific dimension size that that is available when you go into LinkedIn, and I can show you what that is. But I would recommend that you don't use any text within your actual header image, and that should take care of the responsiveness to it. And then lastly, when creating the image, you'll see that the profile photo is, of course, on top of part of it. So you'll need to leave a little space on the left-hand side so that your profile photo doesn't cover anything important that you really want to showcase. Don't worry, Diane. I'm sure these are just things I've learned, and I'm sure that um, as you guys go through this, the great thing about LinkedIn is that you can edit it as often as you want. Make these updates, and then you can take a look at your stats to see how many more profile views you're getting, or you're getting the right profile views. So it's definitely a lot of trial and error, and hopefully these tips will help. So I'm going to switch off this right now and just go straight to LinkedIn itself and show you just some engagement best practices. If that works for you guys.
Yes.
Awesome. How are we doing on time?
We're
All good.
17 minutes after the hour, but
All right.
if you're available past the 30-minute mark, Randy, you're more than welcome to keep going.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's share a screen, and I'm going to share my. What is share my desktop? All right. So let's go to the profile real quick, and then I'll show you some engagement best practices. Um, so just a couple things. When you're taking a look at the featured section, you'll see this featured section is right here right now. It used to be within the about section, but now they've kind of made it a nice separate section here. And then when you click on the pencil icon, you can either remove any of these that you've already put in, or you go to the plus icon, and then you can see where it says posts, and those are recent posts that you've done. I love that one. It's my favorite one. You guys seen the John Krasinski videos? Those are great. Let's click on
Yeah,
feature.
amazing.
Episode 5, just like I literally was tearing up about an hour ago watching it. I'm not kidding. All right. And then lastly, just on one thing on this, when you're taking a look at the profile photo, you'll see that there's dimensions that pops up. If we can see that come up right there. So you'll see that is the recommended dimensions, and it'll show up when you do that. Now you can upload anything that you want, but I'd recommend that you kind of keep with that.
Those are really tricky. That's where I found if you use like PicMonkey, you can kind of take a leap to improve. I mean, yours is great, but it can be really hard to get a picture in that proper dimension.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for another session, but I can definitely show you some tips and tricks around that. The tool that I use the most for doing any social editing of photos, whether it's LinkedIn or just creating social graphics, is Canva.
What is it?
Canva, Canva. And they have some templates for LinkedIn headers. I'll put it in the chat unless someone else already has. Yep. Thanks, Kate. All right, let's go on to engagement best practices. So a couple of things that I've benefited from in terms of, say, getting jobs or making new connections. One is simply commenting on content. Commenting on content will bring out people that are actually interested in the same content that you are. So like I'm watching this guy, Alan Gannett, great author, does these great video interviews. I haven't watched it yet, so I'm not going to comment. But what I would do is I would type a little comment here about the interview and why it was interesting to you, how it was beneficial to you. And then what will happen is that it will come up within everyone else's feed that follows me that shows that I commented on it, as well as anybody else that is looking at this content. They'll see it within the comments, and then they'll drill down into the profile. And then you can see how Alan is constantly engaging with people that are commenting on it. So that's step one. Now, how do you find more content? There's a couple of different ways. One is, for instance, if you don't know Alan, which I don't, but I love his stuff, there's an option of actually following people versus connecting with people. So there's an age-old debate around, should I connect with everyone that I see? Should I just let everybody in except all the invites? My recommendation is that you don't. But again, it's very personal on how you want to grow your network. So there's two options within LinkedIn. And you'll see, let me just unfollow him and I'll show you how it looks. Let me refresh this. So you'll see here now there's a follow button. So on most people's profile now, you have the ability to do that. Now you might not have the follow button here, but if you go to the more section, you'll be able to see it. So if you're on a non-influencer, which this guy's an influencer, he's got a lot of followers, you'll see it here. And you have the ability to change it within your profile if you wanted to, but it's always under more if you need to go to it. So just click on follow, and then that will show up within your newsfeed. So now you'll have more content. So if you're interested in maybe a few recommendations of people to follow within, say, the digital marketing space, I'm happy to provide that. Or in AI or artificial or machine learning, I have a few of those. I'm happy to share that with you. The next thing would be is if you look on the left-hand side of your profile, down all the way down at the bottom, you'll see a Discover More. So click on that. And this shows you some recommended hashtags for you based upon the content that you do, that you write, and that you are engaging with, as well as any pages that you're interested in, and any people as well. So that's a great way of just getting more content for you to kind of scroll through. And you have to kind of figure out the best way of how you're going to manage your time on that, because it's a lot of content to look through. But it's a great way to expand your network and start commenting on other people as posts that are relevant to you. And as kind of time goes on, you'll have this hashtag section here that shows you what are the hashtags that you follow, the groups, pages, and so forth. So everyone has access to this. Again, it's on the bottom. So if you on LinkedIn, you're scrolling down, you'll see a Discover More section right here. And those are really the two main ways of kind of expanding your network without creating content. The other thing that I'd recommend that you do is actually post video. Now, video is sometimes like people get a little scared, or what should I do? What should I write about? Or should I talk about? Sometimes just something as simple as talking about yourself and like, this is who I am. This is what I do. Hope you're having a great day. Something as simple as that goes a long way for people. And so what I've seen is that on-demand video actually performs better on LinkedIn for me than on YouTube. And that could be personal just because of my network, but I feel like I've seen that a lot from other executives as well. So just a simple way of just going to here, selecting a video from your desktop, posting it, and that I believe will get some real authentic, human, and empathetic content that I think everyone needs these days. All right, any questions? Hopefully these tips were helpful. If they were, please give me a thumbs up in the chat or let me know.
And feel free to speak up, folks, if you have your own tips to share. We'd love to hear them.
A question from Caroline. What's my favorite video tool? Good question. So I would, the ones that I use, one is something as simple as iMovie. But also if I'm just doing a simple kind of talking head video of me just talking, I don't have any bumpers in the front or in the end. I just use my iPhone and just edit it just via the native tool, just kind of trim it up a bit. That's all I do. Question from Beth. What is the length of video that's worked best in LinkedIn? So I would recommend I would say the 1 to 2 minute range. Could even be less, but I think if it's something that's a unique recommendation or an opinion about a trending topic, that might be a great way to extend that length. But if it's just a simple kind of welcome, I would try to keep it in the 30 to 45-second range. Yeah. Do you recommend LinkedIn? So from Amy, do you recommend LinkedIn for an article, blog, platform, or write blog on another platform, Medium, and share on LinkedIn? That's a great question. And so within LinkedIn, you have the ability to write an article or a blog post. What I'm seeing is people doing less of that and using the short form. So in this section here, actually, I'll give this a zoom shot. 1 second. In this section right here, where you create your post, you have up to 1,300 characters there. And so what I'd recommend is that you write an opinion about a particular topic that you're passionate about, and then not put a link within this section, but put a link in the comments. Now, the digital marketer in me, when I first heard that, was like, that's one more click for someone to look at my conversion. But if you're trying to expand your network on LinkedIn, you try in a way, quote unquote, game the algorithm that LinkedIn has. And LinkedIn wants to keep people on their network, as well as Twitter, Facebook, whoever, because they get more ad dollars. And so if you can put most of the content and try and get people to engage on your content versus go off to a TechCrunch article or whatever you're posting about, Thrive Global article, try and keep it on there. So an example, this gentleman here, his name is James Carberry. It's a podcast agency that I've worked with in the past. So he'll write a good, 1,300 characters or so. It's a short blog post, it's not too long. And he'll add the necessary hashtags, tag the right people, and then put in, the hashtags down here. And then within the comments, he'll usually have an article or a link to whatever he's talking about. Now, should every post be about that in terms of 1,300 characters and then link in the comments? Not necessarily. You still want to have, an article just like this guy from Disney, because that's something that you're featured in or something that you're interested in. So, and you don't have all the time to do 1,300 characters every single post, but if you do one of those a week, I think that might be a great way to start kind of sharing what you're really passionate about, what you want to be known for. What else we got here? You said you use multiple social media platforms. What do you think of TikTok for business? I love TikTok. I don't know how to dance, but I love TikTok. I see it as really any network that's out there where if you spend the time and you put in the effort to create content that's for that audience, then you're going to get value out of it. Now, a lot of people that I've seen is that they amplify their content on TikTok, or they start with TikTok and then they amplify it on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and other places. So really, it depends on what your content strategy is and what you're trying to push out. The audience on TikTok is wanting more creativity and more authentic content, more so than any other network. If you think Instagram's authentic, you need to look at TikTok and see how authentic that is.
So Randy, there's been a thread of comments in the chat about the different people's approach to accepting invitations from people they don't know. What is your approach to that?
So I get a lot of spam of people wanting to connect with me. And I want to make sure that they actually read my profile, that they actually aren't just saying, let's see, there's someone here. Craig. So someone that's watching me is great. I will accept you because
that's excellent.
We have this connection. And that's totally cool.
Way to go, Craig.
Yes, Craig, you are going to prove me wrong. But really what happens sometimes is that people will come to me and say, oh, I'm just expanding my network. Can you accept my invite? Without any value besides that. And not that I have a lot of people, but I'd rather not do that until I actually know them. So, and it's funny is that on my LinkedIn profile itself, I have my contact information. Like I literally put my phone number and I think it's still there. Yeah, my phone number and my email address. Wow. So there's no reason for them to connect with me on LinkedIn. They could just reach out to me if they want to sell me something. So yeah, that's definitely something there. Yeah, great questions. But yeah, that's me. That's my my view on that topic. But again, everyone is different, depending on what your goals are, what you're trying to do. Can you call now, Craig? Awesome. Great one. Anytime, buddy. Happy to chat.
So what's working for other folks? What's working for you on LinkedIn? Anyone want to chime in?
I will. I write a blog on occasion, and I've had pretty good success connecting with very high-level people that I want to quote, that I'm going to quote, intend to quote, would like to chime in on my blog and so forth. And I will say that when I get like the founder of Shutterstock or something, that accepts my LinkedIn or goes ahead and wants to chime in on my blog. I mean, that is more of a rush than just, some random person that sends a LinkedIn invite. But I also will share that I used to have this uber high barometer as to who I would accept from a LinkedIn invite. And we had a dinner one time and I was sitting across the table from this woman who's on the board of her husband's VC firm. And she looked at me and wink, wink, which means I do nothing is what she indicated. And she said, and I get LinkedIn, invites nonstop all day long, and I just accept every single one of them. And it really changed my barometer as to who I accept. So I did lower the bar quite extensively. I still do look because, the randoms, it's inevitable that the next message from them is that they want to sell you something.
Yeah. And for me, so what happened with me is just a personal story, and I'll keep it short. So I got laid off in January earlier this year. And within a few hours, I went to LinkedIn and posted my story. I've gone through layoffs before, so I know mostly what's gonna happen, and that you get mad, you get sad, you don't know what to do. But I knew right away that I had my LinkedIn network that I built up over the years, that I needed to go out and say what happened and that what I learned, just to be positive, and then hopefully that will produce more higher community value for me. And so within about 24 hours, I got about 160 or so comments, about 20,000 views. It was ridiculous. I've never had that in any of my posts before. But there was something that was just like real and authentic, that was timely because it happened right then, that was personal. And that expanded my network, and it's how I found my job currently where I'm at now at a company called Unifor in Palo Alto. So the CMO saw that, was connected to one of my former coworkers who also got laid off. And then that's how I got connected and how I got the job. So it's just a funny way of how all this kind of connections happen. And again, my only thought is that if you're thinking about it, write it. It is a great way, especially in those personal moments. It's a great way to just like unleash that that weight off your shoulders. So that's what happened to me, and what's happened to me in the past too in other jobs.
If can I ask a live question?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Linda.
Hi. So what do you find to be the most efficient way to, so I'm in your same boat, but I don't have a job right now, but I'm on all the things like Nextdoor and LinkedIn and Twitter and so on.
Sure.
So I'm wondering, what is your take on, or anyone who wants to say, about the most efficient way to platform? Like it's, Nextdoor tends to need a lot of babysitting. LinkedIn is great, but very busy. Twitter also very busy. So I just.
Yeah. What field are you in?
Marketing.
Marketing.
Tech, marketing. Yep.
And what specific marketing, like product marketing or?
Well,
digital?
so most recently and has been demand gen. So, but I've also just expanded I'm like, I can do program marketing for nonprofits, I can deliver food for food banks and so on. So, but anyway, I think the point is like, how does one most specifically market themselves in this?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And kind of from my experience, what I've done is I've picked a couple different networks that I believe can get me the most value. Now, job search, as you know, is exhausting mentally and physically. But I think if you can say, all right, I'm going to spend some time writing 1 to 2 posts a week that are not just sharing an article, but that really share what my expertise is and what I've learned over the years. I think that for me, that's how I've done it, and how it's helped me expand my network. Because I think for instance, when you look at LinkedIn, what really matters the most in my experience is that you're sharing your lessons learned. What has helped you in your career to really that other people can leverage, right? And I think yes, you might be out of a job now, but you have great experience from the past, and you should definitely kind of pick and choose those moments in time that you had where like this was something where I had a great win and I want to talk about it. So that's how I would do it. On Twitter, I think it's there's definitely people that you want to follow, especially for marketing. There's some good Twitter chats. I mean, Dennis, you know this as well. whether it's Twitter chats or other influential people in marketing to follow. I think there's always opportunities to curate content and to share your opinion there.
I was just gonna give a tip that I have found to be really helpful, which is if you're targeting a certain company, to really engage with them online, and that's not really answering your question, but like for instance, like I have been engaging a lot with Sprout Social, and I'm on their radar, and they have reached out to me to do freelance work because I just engage with them constantly. So if there's a company that you really, really enjoy and want to work for, I would just say, I mean, make it authentic, right? Don't force it, but like just really, really, really engage with them frequently. So you're on their radar and they're like, oh yeah, okay, so this person engages with us all the time. I'm going to flag their resume when you do end up applying. So just a 2 cents.
No, that's great. I mean, even if like you do a blog post about, say, a Sprout Social webinar, and you tell them, hey, I just wrote about your webinar, check it out. That's going to tell them, one, that you like their content, that publicly you like their content, and that they're going to want to share that. So that, again, just allows you to leverage their network too, because they're going to share that stuff. So it's a great tip. Love Sprout Social.
If you check the chat, there's a question from Shannon based on one of your previous comments.
Randy, to clarify, are you talking about your own content, not a shared post and commentary about that content, but your own? So yeah, I mean, for the most part, yes. I think in the previous conversation we were talking about my own content. So writing something that from a previous experience, a moment in time where I learned something, whether it's good or bad, and that I could share that externally. Now, if you find an article on, say, Thrive Global or on Inc. or Forbes, and you resonate with it, you could share that article and then add on your, tidbit to it, whether in a comment or an actual post. So there are different ways of doing it.
So I have one for you, Randy. Have you tried LinkedIn Live?
Yes, I have. When I was at my last job, we did that. We had an event in September, and we saw a huge engagement over other pieces of content. Now, what we saw early on last year was the on-demand content was really great and got a lot of views, more so than on YouTube. And then when Live came out, the engagement on that specific piece of content was more so than any other piece of content. Now, it definitely does take a little more production and preparation than anything else. I mean, it's a virtual event, so you need to be prepared for it. You need to storyboard it. You need to script it out as at least at a high level. Not necessarily read a script, but and it depends what you're doing. If you're doing this like a talking head Q&A video versus a something that you produce from your company and you want to push it out via this. LinkedIn definitely has some best practices. I don't have the link with me right now, but I know that they've shared some great PDFs around going live. So they have some really good content there.
Cool. By the way, is anyone on the line speak up if you're hiring for full-time roles or you're looking for freelancers? Feel free to share any details. Beyond that, I know we're past the half-hour mark, so feel free to chime in. Otherwise, we'll start to wrap things up. And thanks, Randy, for joining us today.
Good job, Dennis. Fun. Thank you for organizing.
Thanks, Linda.
Yeah, thanks, you guys.
Good thing.
Helpful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your day.
Wait, time out. Jessica says she's going to do some hiring soon. Jessica's one of our newer members, so stay tuned for a job listing. And Jessica has left her LinkedIn link, so feel free to connect with her.
Thanks, Jessica.
Awesome, guys.
And I believe, I think our next meetup is a week from today, so stay in touch.
Okay.
Thanks again, Randy.
All right, you're welcome. Take care.
Thanks,
Okay.
Randy.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Emily.
Hey.
Welcome. Bye.
Appreciate it.
Welcome.